everybody, I'm Dieter Kurtenbach. Welcome to Warriors Wednesday, a breakdown of everything that happened with the Golden State Warriors over the last week. And we could not start off this regularly scheduled programming with a better week. This might be the best week of Warriors basketball in a long, long time. Warriors, of course, sweep the week. They beat the Wizards, they beat the Knicks, they beat the Nets, and then they beat the Bulls on Monday. They get started against the New Orleans Pelicans on Wednesday, but we got to look backwards before we can look forwards. What a week. Warriors averaging 135 points per game over the last 4 games, 55% shooting from the field, 45% from three, and more so than that, the individual performances were out of this world for the Warriors. Let's think back to Wednesday's game against the Washington Wizards. Stephen Curry going off with one of the greatest games he's ever played, 52 points. Just spectacular, old vintage Steph Curry making an MVP statement, even if it's a little early in the year to be talking about that kind of stuff. Then they go to New York. Kevin Durant goes off in the fourth quarter against the Knicks. 25 points in the fourth, 41 for the game. One of the best performances of Kevin Durant's Warriors regular season career, at least. We all know what that guy can do in the finals. A spectacular performance on the biggest stage, arguably, in the game. Warriors then head over to Brooklyn, and they were doing pretty well. And then, of course, they brought it back a little bit. Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant seal the game a couple of pick and rolls late. The Nets had no chance to stop anything like that. Another win for the Warriors, and then Monday night, second game of a back-to-back in Chicago, 2 cities. All of the reasons for the Warriors to play pretty perfunctory, lackadaisical basketball. And maybe they did, but the Bulls are so bad it didn't matter. Klay Thompson going off for 52 points in 2.5 quarters, and of course setting the NBA record for three-pointers made in a single game. So yeah, all 3 stars now online. These Warriors look downright unbeatable at the moment. In fact, with the way that the NBA is shaking out, I'm having a really hard time seeing a team that's going to contend with them in the Western Conference. Maybe it's that Pelicans team that comes to Oracle Arena tonight. But let's talk about some of the things we learned from this past week. Obviously, the superstars get the headlines, but a couple of other things that caught my eye. Draymond Green's defense was spectacular over the last few games. Green didn't get a lot of preseason playing time. They were concerned about his conditioning because, again, he didn't have a lot of playing time in the preseason, and Draymond's one of those guys who needs to work his way into shape a little bit. He's in shape. He looks like he is back at full force. His offensive game is still a little disjointed, but you can see the passing developing, and his defense is just out of this world good. Draymond said that one of the things he wanted to do this season was reestablish himself as the NBA's best defensive player. He has a lot of competition in that regard, but I would be hard-pressed to say that anyone has performed better. And Kawhi Leonard's doing great stuff, Rudy Gobert's doing great stuff, but Draymond Green, again, proving why he is the most versatile defender in the NBA. No one can do what he does on a nightly basis. Other things that I took note of, the Warriors bench is starting to come into focus, and 2 guys stand out for that. We all know that Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston are the anchors off the bench, but those are guys who are, at a certain point in their careers, they're not going to play a lot, if we're just being totally honest. Sometimes they're on the court and they're not even playing that hard. Those are guys that the Warriors want to essentially save for the playoffs. So they're going to need a couple of guys to step up and stand out in that rotation. You have to go 9 guys deep, 10 guys deep in the regular season. And 2 guys that have really done that are Jonas Jerebko and Alfonso McKinnie. McKinnie, let's just start with him. That is found gold. That's not just found coins. That is a bar of gold being found by the Golden State Warriors. This is a guy who made the Warriors off of a preseason tryout, a training camp tryout. It's a guy who was playing in the Luxembourg League, the Mexican League, a 3-on-3 pro league. He played for the G League team for the Toronto Raptors last year. He got a couple of cups of coffee with the big squad, but anyone in the NBA could have signed Alfonso McKinnie coming into this season. The Warriors didn't even offer him a real contract until after the preseason was over and until after it became obvious that Patrick McCall wasn't going to show up to work anytime soon. Alfonso McKinnie has been fantastic for the Warriors so far this season. The offensive stuff has been coming around lately, but it's the defense that really stands out. This guy can get in front of anybody. He's not the longest, but he plays with a lot of energy, a lot of hustle. He is a sound defender. He is a competent defender, and he is an excellent rebounder from the wing. When the Warriors need to get the game under control, Steve Kerr is now going to Alfonso McKinnie. He is playing somewhat of the defensive role of an Andre Iguodala. Again, this guy doesn't even have a guaranteed contract for the rest of the season. That's how available he was in the preseason. Alfonso McKinnie has been fantastic. give Bob Myers some credit, because I don't think anybody else in the NBA considered Alfonso McKinney to be an important role player. But the best team in the league, they found him, and he's been just that. Let's talk about Jonas Jerebko for a second, too. I was not sure Jonas Jerebko was going to perform this season based on what he had done in the preseason. We don't want to read too much into the preseason. Obviously, it's exhibition basketball, but Jerebko was like the last guy off the bench for the Warriors in the preseason. He has been the first guy off the bench for the Warriors in the regular season. He has been absolutely fantastic, and he provides them an element that I have not seen from Golden State since perhaps Mo Spates was in town, which is a big guy who can pick and pop and give you a little bit of force on the defensive end. In fact, I should scratch that. Mo Spates never gave anyone any force on the defensive end, but he could knock him down. Jonas is shooting exceptionally well from three. I think his rebounding has been fantastic for the Warriors. I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State gives him a little bit more run at the five in the coming weeks, but having two guys that you did not know were going to be factors for a team, being factors for a team this early, that only portends good things. Again, final point before we get out of here. With the Rockets struggling, with the Jazz are good, but it's the Jazz. The Pelicans, who knows if Anthony Davis is healthy or not. If Anthony Davis is in, they're going to give a run. We'll get a great sneak preview of what I think could be the Western Conference Finals Wednesday night at Oracle Arena. But we saw what happened with the Pelicans and the Warriors last year in the playoffs. I'm looking around the Western Conference, and while I thought this might be the year where the Warriors would kind of come back to the pack a little bit. Even if Houston didn't take a step forward, the rest of the West would step up a little bit, and the Warriors, because of the attrition and the difficulty of having to keep a dynasty afloat, they would come back just a smidge. That doesn't look like it's happening. In fact, it looks like the gap is widening, and that is absolutely insane. If this is indeed the last run for these Warriors as we know them, the Kevin Durant Warriors, they are going out in truly spectacular fashion. I cannot remember a time that the Warriors have looked this absolutely dominant in the regular season. This is some stupefying stuff. They are meshing the best of the pre-Durant Warriors, where Stephen Curry is leading the way, the three-point shooting is flowing, the joy is evident, and the best of the Kevin Durant Warriors, where they can play that mid-range isolation game, get shots over anybody. It's kind of a grinding death machine of basketball. They're mixing them together. They are now a joyful death machine. And that should scare everybody in the NBA, because even if this is the end, they are going to steamroll their way through the Western Conference by the way things look right now. And if it isn't, I have a very hard time seeing anybody competing with them anytime soon, or at least in this decade. We will check back in after the Warriors play the Pelicans on Wednesday night. Come back next Wednesday. We will break down everything that happened for the Warriors during the week. Until then, everybody,